Hello everybody, this is Chris the Spyder Minimalist, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about something that was on my mind well before I bought the Spyder, and even well before the 2024 model lineup was released. And I don't mean released to the dealers, I mean when the photos and the videos of them were released back in the fall. And what sparked this was, this morning I was on YouTube and I was watching a video, and this is one of the Sean Smokes videos of the 2024 models when they just came out and he got to ride one of them around. And that was the first video I'd ever seen of the new TFT display. I had seen the TFT display on the 2024 models at the Toronto Motorcycle Show, but I was looking at them through the naked eye, and it was a very brief encounter, and it wasn't with them in motion. And this morning I got to see them in motion through the prism of the GoPro camera that Sean Smokes uses. And why I mention that is, when right now you are looking at my instrument display, and while I don't know exactly what you're seeing, I won't know that until I edit this video, I am looking at it and I can see the speed very clearly. I can see the tack very clearly, the 2700 RPMs very clearly. The rest of the data, to be honest with you, I've got a sun shield over my underneath my windscreen on my face shield on my helmet, and maybe that's causing it, but I think you can probably tell the night version of the instrument display is on right now. Eventually the day version will come on, which is like that gray version, but Can-Am is not perfected with this instrument display, at least, when it flicks back and forth between night and day. And what that means is I can see it clearly, it's fine, it's not a gripe. But the new 2024 models with the TFT display, that is super crisp and super clear. And you can tell that because the naked eye sees things much clearer than what comes through on the GoPro. So if you look at the Sean Smokes videos, or quite frankly this very video that you're watching right now, you can tell that this is kind of a blur. There's like a circular motion or something. There's a special effect that the GoPro, or really any camera, has when it interacts with this display. Yet, and including on the Sean Smokes videos, until you see him riding a 2024 model with the new TFT display, because it's crisp and clear and it's awesome. So back to when the 2024 models were released and I learned that they were going to have a TFT display and a much larger display, that really appealed to me. Now, I was a guy who was on the fence about, should I get a Spyder, and if I get a Spyder, like which model year should I get? The other thing that really appealed to me was the fact that it has touch screen capabilities. However, I quickly learned that the touch screen capabilities are apparently not usable when the vehicle's moving, so that lost a little appeal to me. The changes related to the switchgear were not a big deal for me, and the CarPlay, Apple CarPlay, yeah, that had an appeal, especially considering how antiquated BRP Connect is. But even when I had a car that had Apple CarPlay, I didn't use it a lot, so that wasn't that big a deal to me. So the big thing for me was the TFT display, and basically it came down to, for me, getting a substantial price decrease on a leftover model versus the TFT display. The other thing that helped nudge me to buying a leftover was, and I don't even know if I should mention this, but when I was at the Toronto Motorcycle Show, I got to talk to a BRP rep who was there. And I wouldn't mention his name even if I remembered his name, but I do not. There were quite a few reps there, school zone. And he told me that, quite frankly, he preferred the 2023 models. He said the difference in price makes it an easy decision. Buy the 2023 model. And the other thing he said was, and again, I would never throw him under the bus by mentioning his name, was he said that the Sea to Sky advantages over the RT Limited didn't really appeal to him, and they don't appeal to me either. The seat, I mean, how much better can it be? If you've got a Sea to Sky and it's a much better seat, weigh in on it, comment. But to me, it wasn't that big a deal. So at that point, I said, okay, I'm going to buy a 2023 Limited. But the real reason I'm cutting this video today is because what I was speculating on before they released the 24 models back in the fall was, would Can-Am do a total revamp of the RTs? And I looked at the history of the RTs, and so the last model year before the 2020 models were revamped, it went from 2014 to 2019. That's 6 years of that very same model. Same body, same instrument display, same engine, same transmission. There may have been subtle changes throughout the model years 2014 to 2019. If you know, chime in, but for the most part they were the same. The big change came in 2020. So when I first started about a year ago thinking about whether or not I would get a Spyder, part of me wondered, when the 2024 models were released, would it be a complete revise, a new body style, maybe a new engine, new instrument display, who knows, maybe a new transmission. So I said to myself, I'm going to certainly wait until the 2024 information comes out about what the new models are, because what I might not want to buy a 23 leftover if the 24s were going to be radically different and radically improved. Now, if they did that, I would not be like a first buyer, not a first buyer, but an early adopter of that model. I'd want to see the YouTube vlogger reviews. I'd want to read articles about the new 2024 models, let Can-Am work out some of the bugs, etc., etc., and then maybe I'd buy a year later. So let's say this time last year, I was really thinking that there was a chance that I might not have a Spyder right now, because the new models would be out and I'd be watching the reviews of the new revamp models and see what they have to say. Now, obviously that was a moot point because Can-Am didn't make many changes. This is the fifth. This model is a 23, which is the 4th year of this same model. The changes to the 2024 model are very subtle, so I do not consider that a radical revamp. So the question in my mind is really the same question I had before I bought this and before Can-Am unleashed the 2024s. The question is, when will they have a significant redesign? If you base their history, and it's not a long history, but if you base the previous model iteration, the 2014 to 2019, that's 6 years, so that might make you think, okay, that means in 2025 they'll still have the same type of design, but in 2026 it'll be the big change. Now, I'm just speculating here, obviously, but I'm somebody who would be interested in seeing what they do with that 2026. I wouldn't be an early adopter. I'm not a first in the pool type of guy when it comes to these things, but I'd certainly keep a keen eye on the reviewers that I respect, and there's a whole bunch of them, and Sean Smokes is just one of them. There's a whole bunch of them. I'd keep an eye on what they have to say about the new models, and I'd read as many magazine articles as there are about the new model, and I might maybe a year later buy a revised model. Now, if you have inside knowledge, and I know not many people do, or if you have your own speculations on when the next model reiteration will come, and I don't mean like maybe next year they make some adjustments to the TFT display. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a serious redesign in the body style. Maybe they touch the engine. I believe this engine is coming on 10 years old. Now, it apparently works. You know, you stick with it, right, if it works. But and maybe part of the reason behind Can-Am having their models go for so long is they don't really have a lot of competition. Their only competition in the trike field is really Harley-Davidson. What would happen to Can-Am's philosophy on that if Honda came out with a trike? I don't know. I speculated on this in another video, but my guess is that Can-Am might have some sort of patent that prevents another manufacturer from doing the Y chassis, the reverse trike. 2 in the front, 1 in the back. I'm just speculating on that. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I wish, quite frankly, someone else came out with the reverse trike to give Can-Am a little competition. That might cause them to up their ante when it came to quality control, and it might cause them to revise and reiterate these things just a little bit more often. You know, I'm coming to the Can-Am Spyder from a KTM. KTM, they update them like every 2 years. I had a 2022 KTM 890 Adventure, and it kind of was notorious for a very hard seat, and in 2023 they revised it and came up with a softer seat. They also adjusted the fairing because there was severe wind buffeting with that model year. So it's almost the exact opposite of Can-Am. KTM innovates all the time, and quite frankly, I didn't like that because I just bought a new bike, and then like 3 years after the model is introduced, they're coming out with a new change to it. So I'd almost like a balance between the quick changes with KTM and the more slower model changes with Can-Am. Anyway, if you have speculations on what the new changes are going to be, I'd love to hear them. I told you I would be cutting a 1,000-mile review video, and I will be doing that. And as part of that 1,000-mile review, I'm also going to give you kind of my wish list for things I'd like to see them change on the next model. Now, a lot of those changes, I know I mentioned this in a previous video, a lot of those changes, quite frankly, I knew before I even bought the Spyder based on other reviews and just things that were intuitive. But there are some observations I've made since I've had this that I'd love to see Can-Am change for the next model iteration. And Can-Am, if you're listening, please take note. So that's it, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you don't subscribe, please do so. I sure would appreciate it. And I'll see you at the next video. You have a great day. Bye-bye.